everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Tara with Mayhem Crafty Cards, and for today's video I have been in kind of a coloring funk here lately. So I have been really enjoying my die cuts and just making cards just using die cuts and not a whole lot of coloring. I tend to do this when I get in a little coloring funk and I just don't know what to color. So for today's set I am using the Our House collection by Concord and Ninth. I really have been enjoying cutting these and putting these together. I recently seen a video as I was searching for color combos ideas, and I came across one by Jennifer Mcguire, and she did this trifold house, and she did all the back panels blank, so that I'm sure so you could write something on them. I chose to do things a little bit differently, and I decorated the backs of all my cards. This folder, this one here, I even used a different embossing folder. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Let's move over to this side. So there's a little bit of like wood grain texture, and that was from another embossing folder from, I believe it's the wood slats from Concord and Ninth. So today we're going to put this together, and I'm going to show you what I did a little bit differently. I really enjoy being inspired by others. I would have never thought to do it this way. So I have already went ahead and decorated, like I said, decorated the fronts of my houses just because it is a lot of little pieces. Now some I did add a little shimmer with my little glimmer pen. And for the windows, what I did was I cut them out, and then I took Lawn Fawn, their pearlescent vellum, and laid the frames on a, you just grab it here, one of the scrapbook.com adhesive sheets, and just inlaid all of the pearlescent vellum. Like I said, it was a lot of die cutting, so I went ahead and just put that together because we would have been here for hours watching that. So these are the fronts of all my houses. Now I did leave the backs blank so that we could put them together. And I really like this color combination. I love the bright one, don't get me wrong, but I really do love this color combination. So, like I said, I did them all on the scrapbook.com adhesive sheets. So now all I have to do, because adhesive, you really can see through the vellum, even the pearlescent vellum, you can still see some of the adhesive. It really makes it nice to be able to lay them on those sheets and not have to see any adhesive through there. So what I like to do is I kind of like to line everything up before I adhere anything down. And I have this piece of paper here. I'm going to try to hopefully distract the light a little bit. But I have like these little window boxes. Now I do have all the flowers cut out for these, and I just kind of lay everything out. It gives me an idea on where I want to put things. And for this top window, what I did is I took two of the little window box pieces that came with it, and I just adhered them together. I did a little bit of ink blending just to give them, a little bit of definition. And then I placed a third one on the front, so it kind of looked like that is supposed to be like three window boxes. And then I use these little bushes from another set, which you could use any little bush. It doesn't have to just be whatever comes in these sets. Like this bush comes from a different set. So I just layered those behind there and added some little flowers. And let me tell you, it took me forever. Here's my little tray of die cut flowers and some extra little greenery pieces. But this took me quite a bit of time. So, but getting back to this, what I like to do, like I said, is line everything up and kind of see where I want to place it. Now, before I even lay anything down, glue anything down, I'm going to grab my little Z-fold strips. Now, these are, I think, let me grab my paper to see. I did write down, because hers was 3/4 of an inch, which I thought were really thick. And like, I even cut them, like notched them out. And I just didn't like how that was turning out. Like, this is my practice card, which I like to do if I, have an idea or want to try something out. I always make a practice one first so I get more comfortable with the design. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for just a second. This, I believe, is a 1/4 of an inch. I will double check. I'll make sure I put it in the description box or post it in the video somewhere. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first house, which I think, yeah, it's going to be the lightest house. And I'm going to adhere that down in between these two score lines. So I did use an 8.5 inch sheet of paper and scored it at 2 inches and 6.25 inches. Those were the measurements that she had listed for hers. So I'm going to adhere this down, and she used tape runner, but I really like using liquid adhesive or score tape. I just feel like it gives it a better hold than the tape runner, just in my experience. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to double it up and use both the tape runner or the score tape and liquid glue. I like to do this just because it gives me a little bit more wiggle room. I can't ever line anything up straight. You'll see on my doors, my windows, it's not straight, and I'm totally okay with that. So after peeling this off, I'm going to use my Barely Arts Barely Art Precision Glue and just go ahead and add that extra. Now, I don't know about you guys, but lately here, and I think it's because of the weather change, it's cold here in Ohio, like really, really ridiculously cold. Like we're in a heat wave right now where it's about 30-ish degrees. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to lay that right in the middle of those score lines. And that's what's nice about using the liquid adhesive with the score tape, because then you can move it if you need to. But my Barely Art glue does this. It will just keep bubbling and bubbling and bubbling until it finally either stops or I put the pin back into it. So I'm going to let that dry for a second, and then we're going to add I'll show you how to add the other two fronts to the houses. This was a little scary to me at first because I wasn't sure exactly how everything was going to line up. Because if you notice, I did the roofs on the front and the backs of the houses. Like I said, look, it's not lined up correctly there. So, but it just gives me that little bit of, like I said, wiggle room. So this should be dry enough. So what we're going to do now is we're going to flip this over so that it's facing the front of your house, and you're going to adhere this strip to the back of this house. So you're essentially adhering all the fronts to the fronts. You'll see how it kind of works once I get the backs of it on, but for the fronts it's just much easier to kind of, and I probably, like I said, when I do this again, I'm gonna wait to decorate everything until after I glue them onto the little Z-fold sheet. So again, I'm gonna get that score tape, and I'm going to add that on there and add my liquid adhesive as well, because like I said, I want this to stick, I want this to hold, and I may even put 2 pieces on here. I think I'm going to. But I just like having that stability. And I know that there's good tape runner out there that, you know, nobody has a problem with it adhering and staying, you know, in place. So, peel this guy off here. I'll be right back. Sorry, I thought I was recording there, but I just went ahead and added that liquid adhesive on there, and this is going to stick to the back of the front of your card. And I added a little bit too much adhesive right there, because you don't want to go all the way to that bend, or it's just not going to work. So now with this one, we're going to do the same. It's going to be the back again. We're going to flip it to the back of the front and adhere it down so you have your trifold then. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera because it took me a second with the other stuff. So will adhere that down, and then we can move on to the other parts of the card. So once you're done with the front, now you can flip everything over and you can add that second. So you cut 2 strips, and like I said, I believe mine was maybe 1/4 of an inch. I'll double check my measurements, but after this, it's so easy just to go ahead and glue it down, and then your houses are going to go ahead and, fold over. So here is the front, and I made the same mistake about my card. Now see, if I go this way, it's great, but I will pinch it. I will just take it over and I will pinch it so it lines up like it's supposed to, and it just kind of helps keep, everything together. So don't worry about these little white pieces here, because we're going to cover them up. That's why you see where I ended my little pieces. I have these little bushes that are going to go right there, and you will never see that little that white piece. Now this will bend with your card as you're moving it back and forth. So let's go ahead and we're going to set this aside, and I'm going to start decorating the back of this. So I have all 3, and I have them all in, coordinating colors, because I just have to do that. So like I said earlier, I will lay everything out kind of where I want it before I adhere anything down. Now the only thing I will adhere down is I'm going to add little flowers to my boxes. But this is where I added my trees. And I was really happy with how the backs, other than the banners, the backs of those houses came out. So what I did was I cut the trees, and then I cut the bases, because they all come with it. It comes with the die to do the trees. So what I did was I kind of got it a little closer to the window, because I felt like at first there was this huge blank space here. So I was like, okay, what can I fill that with that's not going to be too, overwhelming for the card? So I grabbed the tree die that they had, that comes in the set, and I went ahead and just added them to the back. And these little greenery pieces, they came from one of the window pop-up shop, I believe. I believe that's the die. But they have these little bushes. So I thought, okay, well, I want to make it a little bit more dimensional, since the little flower pots I'm going to use foam adhesive on. And it's thin foam, so it's not like it's going to bulk it out too much where you can't put it into an A2 size envelope. Now these will be a little heavier to mail, so you'll probably need extra postage. But like I said, I just kind of figure out where I want to place things before I start gluing them down. And I use the same Lawn Bump, that pearlescent vellum, which I really, really like. I forgot that I even had it in my stash. And then I came across and I was like, oh, okay, well, now I can put this to good use. But if you're kind of like me, and I don't want to say that I hoard my paper, but I kind of hoard my paper. I don't like to use certain papers unless it's going to a certain person. And then I have no problem, using it. But I did just the backs here, and I took 2 of these little greenery pieces and just kind of put them together. Like, I cut it off where it kind of lined up together, so that way I didn't have all this excess. It was really nice, because then I can use those excess pieces someplace else. So I'm going to adhere down. Let's just do this. I can get these guys out of the way. I know where my windows are going. This is where I say that I cannot line stuff up to save my life. It will, no matter what I do, it will be 100% crooked. I've tried to line it up with my mats before, and it just doesn't, it doesn't work. So see, as you can see, when I place this down, you're not going to be able to see that adhesive sheet behind the vellum. I think that's straight. I doubt it. It's not, but it's okay. Everybody knows that I'm just not, it's not going to be in a straight line. But those adhesive sheets really do, when you have smaller dies like this, or you want to inlay, I really use those a lot when I'm inlaying dies. So this one, and you can see the little brick pattern. I've been trying to like line them kind of like not on there, but kind of in that area. And it's so, now, I mean, now it's stuck down. You don't have to use any extra adhesive to get these windows to stick. It's really nice. Now I do try to line the bottoms of these up so that they are somewhat straight before I totally, because once you press it down, you're not getting it back up. It's there. So now I have my windows, nothing's going to fall off. I can go ahead and add my flowers to my little baskets. They're window boxes. It comes with a couple dies for that. And like I said, you can mix and match and use any dies that you want to add flowers to. Okay, so I went ahead and did all my foam tape and added my flowers to the little baskets. Now, the foam tape I used was from scrapbook.com, and it is, I mean, when I say thin, it is thin. Like, it is, like, super thin. And it's just to add a little bit of dimension to this card, because like I said, it is going to be heavier when you mail it. This thing, though, this is a lifesaver for me. Between this and my reverse tweezers to do some of these little pieces have been great. So I did go ahead and, like I said, put the double-sided adhesive, the foam tape on the back of all these, and I'm just going to go ahead and line them up. Now, I do not add any extra adhesive to these window pieces because I figure once they go down, like, they're down. Like, that's it. Like, I didn't want to ruin the vellum by moving it around and having a bunch of adhesive on the back. So I'm just going to go ahead and, like I said, I'm going to just add my window boxes. And you'll see why I add them first, especially before I add my trees, because I kind of like to tuck my trees behind the window boxes. Now I gotta look and see here. And I do try to make them as even as I can coming up. So this one I did cover a large part of that window. Close enough. So now I'm going to figure out where I'm going to place my trees. And like I said, I do want the window boxes to hide them a little bit. And I did make the pots the same colors, the same coordinating colors as the house. So now that I have where I want my trees to be, I need to line up my grasses. So I cut 2 of these for each house. And what this is going to let me do is line it up so that I can, there's a little bit of decoration back here, so it's not so plain. I don't know. I guess I could add an extra white piece to the inside with a sentiment, but I feel like if I'm sending this to somebody, I can always add a little something extra into their cards a little bit later. It's not as big a deal. So now that I have these guys lined up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first cut this piece here just to get it to match up. It's important to me that it matches up because I am a perfectionist. Now you can see there's little like lumps. So these lumps line up really nice and it kind of just really blends together. You don't have to cut them. It'll just add a little bit of extra bulk. Now on the other card that I did add a little extra greenery back there, but in the end, I didn't like it. So I didn't want to add to it. So what I'm going to do is trim this off and make sure that it's still going to line up properly on the back. Now you don't have to make these pieces go all the way to the back because when you line up, when you go to adhere this to the base, you're going to be covering some of these lines. And I'm going to try to do this without moving any of my stuff. So let's put it here. We'll put it here. So you have to remember, you're still going to have those bushes that are right there. So you could cut them a little shorter, a little longer. I mean, I felt like the bushes were the best option because they did cover this up very well. So I'm going to go ahead, attach these on here. I'm going to talk a little bit about my hob that's coming up. Now, I did recently get hacked in Facebook and lost my whole account, all my pictures, all my contacts. So if you see me, don't hesitate to follow. Like I said, I've lost a lot of contacts. Now this one I do like to round out just a little bit, just because of where it's going to sit on the card, so it's not as choppy. And I do extend that little butt out. That's what I've been calling it, the little butt. Just so that I can cut it off and it's not going to be look so mismatched. So now that I have that about where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and put my tree back, and I'm going to leave this guy here. And I am going to grab an acrylic block and lay it right there. So that way I know that's where I'm going to place my tree. And the only one I can really find is my big one. So that's fine, because it's gonna hold it down for me. So with this one, I am going to use the liquid adhesive. Again, use your choice of adhesive. I just prefer to have the liquid. And I get a little happy with the adhesive, apparently. So I'm going to carefully tuck this guy in, but still kind of keep my pot a little bit visible, because I don't want to cover it all the way. Alright, so that's good placement there, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. I'm going to move my block, which just is the massive one, but again, it works out in my favor because it's really heavy. Grab my other tree, oh gosh, that I just covered, and I'm going to do the same thing. Now you want to be careful. I bent this guy a little too much. I mean, these little pieces are kind of thin anyways when you die cut them out. I usually use pretty heavy craft, but I did not this time, just because, again, I didn't want my card to be too heavy that it was going to cost an arm and a leg to mail. So I'm going to, again, tuck him back behind there, and since I have my tree here, or my grass here, I can see exactly where it's going to go. And these, I don't mind that my trees aren't even. I don't mind that they're not, you know, the exact same height, because the grass is going to cover up a good chunk of the pots. And it doesn't always have to be perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and glue these down, and I'm going to start with this side first because that's the side that I've cut. So going back to Facebook being hacked and all the fun stuff, I lost everything. I lost all my contacts, my pictures. You know, it's kind of devastating to lose a platform. You know, most of it was personal, and I had a lot of personal pictures on there of my family, my kids, my dad who passed away a couple years ago. So it's just a little disheartening. But I'm not going to, I did create a new Facebook page, and I'm going to link it in my description box. That way you can find me if you would like. It's just, I'm still going to be doing the hop on Facebook as well. It's not going to stop me. I'm not going to let, you know, stuff like this stop me from doing what I love doing. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to finish out the other two because they're basically going to be the exact same design in the back. So I'm going to finish that, and when I come back, we will get the rest of the card put together. Okay, so now what we can do is line up the fronts and the backs, because this is the back end of the house, okay? So I'm going to line these up, and it's going to be the exact same how I adhere them down. And don't mind these little grass pieces, because we're going to trim those off. So I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to add the liquid glue and the score tape, and I'm just using a 1/4 inch score tape. It's nothing fancy, nothing special, just a 1/4 inch score tape. And like I said, that helps a lot with it just staying secure and not falling, you know, apart in the mail. And then so after we get it to here, then we're going to adhere these little bushes. And I don't add any flowers to these. I just keep them just nice green little bushes because they're going to bend with each of the houses. So let's go ahead and adhere this down. And this one I'm just going to use straight liquid glue. Just because I have a bigger area that I can adhere down. So about the hop will be March 8th. It's a Saturday. Everything will be posted by 10 a.m. I like to schedule my posts. It keeps me, knowing what's due and I'm not forgetting anything. So if you'd like to be a part of the hop, I have a Google form that I'm linking in my description box for you guys to check out. It's pretty simple. I mean, I want you guys to use whatever you want to use for your project. It does not have to be a card. It does not have to be a scrapbook page. Whatever you would like to create that day is just, it's just having people participate and showing up for it. So I'm just lining this right up, and this is what makes it so nice about doing that front first, because then all you have to do is just lay it down. And that's it. So there's your front, and here's the back. Now I am going to lay that big block on here again just to help with that adhesive, because usually I use, like I said, that score tape. So while that's sitting, you can contact me through Instagram. My Instagram is still the same. Thankfully, nobody got into that, which is at Mayhem Crafty Cards. I will link the new Facebook page, my profile, in the description box as well. I will link everything that I used if I can find it. The paper, I hate to say this, but I don't really label my paper. I put it in rainbow order. Most of the paper has come from either Concord and Ninth, Simon Says Stamp, or MFT. Those are the three companies that I like. I really like their paper. So if you see it, it's probably from one of those companies. I don't really keep it in the packaging. I have a file folder system that I've been using to keep organized. So now that guy's down, I'm going to go ahead and adhere the other ones. And then when I get those secure, we're going to add the other little bushes. Okay, so now that we have the fronts and the backs adhered, I'm going to add these bushes. And like I said, the bushes are going to cover up a good chunk of it. Now you can see I did not line it up all the way down here at the bottom. So hopefully it's still kind of wet. If I can't get it to fix, I'll cut it. It's not going to be perfect. I don't try for perfection. I just do what I love. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my adhesive to either side because I need this to bend with my card. So I'm going to kind of line it up to where I want it and just adhere it to that spot. I don't want to adhere it to where I scored, because then my card won't bend with the card. So while I let that dry, I'm going to go ahead and do the next one, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Now, I'm not sure why I put flowers on this one. For some reason, I keep thinking that I really like them on those little ones, but I don't. So it is completely up to you, whatever little bushes you have. Now, I know I probably just did this whole thing with adhesive. For this part, I thought about adding some little clouds that I had. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do. I think the next time I make this card, I'm going to just use acetate across the top of it, because it will hide any of that overhang or anything that you're going to see. I shouldn't say overhang. Anything that you're going to see where they're connected at the top, which is really hard to, unless you're using the acetate, which you'll still score it at 2 and 6 1/4 to keep it, so it will have that trifold effect. So again, I'm doing the same thing in the back. I'm just lining that up with that white line at the bottom. Again, not to cover your squirm line because it won't bend. So where do you guys find inspiration when you get stuck? Do you go to YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram? I just kind of go back and forth between everything. And I will end up cutting this because I don't like that that overhung so much, and I did not line it up straight. So I'm going to let this dry for a second, and I'll talk about the hop just a little bit more. So March 8th, it's going to be Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You don't have to be a card maker to participate. The autoimmune hop is really important to me because I do have MS and a couple other autoimmune diseases, and we don't always want to talk about it. So I really want to show unity in this hop and get as many participants as I can. Like I said, it's a free hop. There's no, minimum number of people that you need to have follow you. There's no, see, this glue's not dry just yet. Whoever wants to participate can certainly participate. Let me flip this guy over. So you can see, I mean, it's a cute little set. And I could add a little banner across the top, add the balloons, add a little place to, I thought about adding like a little mail slot to put a message there. You can stamp on these. So there's lots of different ways to do them. I just like decorating the front and the back. I don't know, maybe I'm just the odd guy out. And I could have, like I said, put this one a little bit closer. It's all trial and error. I like how it turned out. I'm going to mess with it a little bit more. Let's see if we can get her to bend without it popping up. There's one. And here is two. And they're not popping up. So now we have our trifold card, house card, sorry. Lost my train of thought for a second. So yeah, that's the trifold. Give me one. Okay, so this is our trifold card, and I really enjoy it. Sorry, I had to refill my diesel heater. I think I let it run out of gas, or diesel, sorry. But yeah, so this is my trifold. What do you guys think? Are you going to try this? Like I said, where do you guys find your inspiration? Here's the front and the back again. And yeah, let me know if you guys try this out, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.